If there's one thing that truly sets the leaders of the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, apart, it's their unwavering commitment to complete independence from the West. Unlike many other African governments still tangled in old colonial relationships, the AES leadership, especially in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, has consistently made bold, controversial, and unapologetic decisions that push towards sovereignty. From cutting ties with France to forging new alliances with Russia and other non-Western powers, every move they've made since taking power has been geared toward breaking the cycle of dependency. That's why it came as no surprise when Niger recently unveiled its first ever locally manufactured armored vehicles. It wasn't just a technological achievement, it was a powerful political statement. Niger is now telling the world that it no longer needs to rely on foreign nations for its defense. This move represents a shift from passive reliance to active self-determination. It says, we are capable, we are ready, and we are no longer begging for protection. This achievement raises an important question. How did Niger, a country long overshadowed by foreign military presence, manage to accomplish such a milestone in local production? What systems, partnerships, or innovations made it possible? And perhaps more critically, what lessons can other African nations learn from Niger's bold step forward? Because in a continent where dependency has too often been the norm, Niger's new armored vehicles may just mark the beginning of a new era of African-built strength. Just a few weeks ago, Niger took a bold step onto the world stage, announcing a groundbreaking achievement in its defense and industrial sectors: the unveiling of the Tamak Wangari, the country's first fully domestically produced tactical military vehicle. More than just a machine, this all-terrain buggy is the product of Nigerian ingenuity, designed and constructed from the ground up by local engineers who have spent years refining it based on real field experience. The official debut took place at Military Base 101 in Niamey during a high-profile ceremony attended by the Chief of Staff of the Nigerian Armed Forces and prominent figures from the country's growing defense industry. Developed by Gwedesign Automotive, a homegrown Nigerian company, the Tamak Wangari has quickly become a national symbol, not just of innovation, but of sovereignty. Its creation represents a shift in mindset, one that embraces self-sufficiency, resilience, and the power of local solutions to local problems. Built specifically to endure the harsh realities of the Sahel's unforgiving terrain, this vehicle isn't just military-grade, it's Sahel-grade. Engineered for extreme heat, loose sands, and rugged landscapes, the Tamak Wangari combines mobility, durability, and adaptability, making it an ideal fit for the region's security operations. This isn't just a tactical vehicle, it's a message that Niger no longer waits for foreign hand-me-downs. It is building its own tools to defend its sovereignty, its land, and its people. Its buggy-style design enables it to traverse challenging terrain effortlessly, while its robust construction ensures reliability in harsh environments. A key feature is its practicality. Designed for austere settings with limited infrastructure, the Tamak Wangari can be maintained without sophisticated facilities, making it well-suited for remote operations. The vehicle's name carries profound significance. Tamak evokes the strength of Niger's air mountains, while Wangari honors the struggle and ingenuity of local innovation. Beyond its military utility, it stands as a powerful emblem of Niger's sovereignty and determination. The unveiling at Military Base 101 marked a moment of national pride, with military and industry leaders celebrating the Tamak Wangari as a step toward reducing reliance on foreign defense imports. Tailored to the Nigerian Armed Forces' operational needs, the vehicle addresses the Sahel's specific challenges, from scorching temperatures to unpredictable terrain. This grassroots initiative distinguishes Niger in a region where many militaries depend heavily on external suppliers. For Niger, the Tamak Wangari is more than just a vehicle. It's a bold declaration of independence and ambition. On a practical level, its design focuses on mobility, durability, and ease of maintenance, making it perfectly suited for the harsh, unpredictable conditions of the Sahel. But beyond its battlefield utility, the vehicle stands as a symbolic triumph, a testament to the skill, creativity, and determination of Nigerian engineers and technicians. At a time when many African nations remain dependent on foreign defense contractors, Niger has proven it can build for itself. Government officials see this achievement not just as a one-off success, but as the foundation for a broader industrial and defense transformation. They envision new projects, jobs for skilled workers, and the growth of a defense ecosystem that strengthens both national security and economic infrastructure. In a region long shaped by external military support, the Tamak Wangari represents a sharp pivot towards sovereignty and innovation. But Niger isn't standing alone in this new wave of Pan-African resilience. Just days before the Tamak Wangari's unveiling, Burkina Faso made headlines of its own. At the Synergy of Safety, Security and Defense exhibition in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso showcased its new fleet of light armored vehicles, designed and modified in-country. Adapted from standard pickup trucks, these vehicles are equipped with reinforced armor, protective turrets, and tactical upgrades to enhance troop safety and mobility, especially in hostile or insurgent-controlled zones. And that's not all. Burkina Faso has also introduced mobile military hospitals, a move aimed at improving battlefield medical care and crisis response. Meanwhile, its equipment partnerships are shifting. With increasing imports from Egypt, Turkey, and China, Burkina Faso is actively diversifying its defense ties and cutting dependence on former colonial powers. Together, these developments from Niger and Burkina Faso reveal a powerful regional shift. These nations are no longer content with being on the receiving end of international security doctrines. Instead, they are building their own defense industries, tailored to the realities of asymmetric warfare and the unique challenges of the Sahel. It's a new chapter, one written not in contracts with foreign powers, but in blueprints, steel, and sovereign ambition. What's becoming increasingly clear is that the collective vision of the AES alliance, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, is centered on one powerful idea: homegrown solutions for African challenges. By turning their focus inward and investing in domestically produced military hardware, these nations are rejecting the outdated model of dependency. Instead of relying on foreign powers to equip them with generic, often ill-suited tools, they're developing precision-built solutions, vehicles, systems, and technologies tailored specifically for their environments. From navigating vast, arid deserts to countering cross-border insurgencies and smuggling routes, the military innovations emerging from this alliance are both practical and symbolic. Burkina Faso is now moving rapidly to advance its own production capacity. Through a mix of technical institutions and private workshops, the country is retrofitting standard vehicles into combat-ready machines, just as Niger has done with its Tamak Wangari. This isn't coincidence, it's strategy. A coordinated push across the Sahel to become self-sufficient in the face of mounting threats and shifting global alliances. The launch of the Tamak Wangari, coupled with Burkina Faso's armored vehicle program, paints a vivid picture of a new regional doctrine, one where sovereignty is engineered, not outsourced. Niger's all-terrain buggy, built for resilience and speed, complements Burkina Faso's heavier armored solutions crafted for frontline deployment in high-risk zones. Together, they represent more than technological progress. They are a clear, coordinated signal that AES members are taking control of their own defense destinies. Faced with persistent instability, asymmetric warfare, and foreign policy pressure, the Sahel is no longer waiting for handouts or intervention. It's responding with locally made tools, locally trained minds, and a shared belief in African capability. By producing their own military equipment, AES countries are not just strengthening their armies, they are reducing supply chain vulnerabilities, asserting strategic independence, and laying the groundwork for a future where African nations are the authors of their own security. You see, we often assume that African nations had full control over their own defense, but the rise of the AES leadership has shattered that illusion. The truth is unsettling. For decades, Africa's defense strategies have been heavily dictated by external powers, often under the guise of partnerships or aid. And maybe that's exactly why insecurity has continued to plague the continent, with foreign hands controlling the weapons, the rules, and the agenda. Take Burkina Faso, for example. Under the shadow of French influence, President Ibrahim Traoré revealed something shocking. France didn't just provide military support, they controlled it. They decided what weapons Burkina Faso could or couldn't buy, and the weapons they allowed, often outdated, overpriced, and barely effective against the complex insurgencies in the region. At one point, Burkina Faso had to borrow weapons from neighboring countries just to keep fighting. A sovereign nation, facing deadly threats on its own soil, forced to beg for tools of defense, not because it lacked money, but because it lacked permission. And the problem wasn't just France. When Traoré took power and began plans to properly outfit the military, he faced roadblocks from other Western nations. Countries like the United States and Germany flat out refused to sell him weapons, choosing instead to uphold political conditions and foreign interests. Traoré was left with no choice but to turn eastward, to Russia, Turkey, and China, nations willing to supply the tools he needed without lecturing him on who should govern his country. It shouldn't have been this hard, not for a country trying to defend itself. Now imagine if Burkina Faso had its own defense industry, its own factories, its own engineers, its own supply chain. Imagine if Africa didn't have to go abroad to fight its own wars. There would be no need for stressful negotiations, no dependency, no artificial delays. Leaders like Traoré could equip their armies based on strategy, not permission. And this is exactly why the AES movement matters. It's not just about building armored vehicles or buying drones. It's about reclaiming the right to defend oneself. It's about breaking free from a system designed to keep Africa dependent, under-equipped, and vulnerable. Because a nation that can't control its defense can never claim to be truly free. Sadly, when we look at the state of the African defense industry, the picture is far from encouraging. Despite the continent's growing security challenges, Africa still relies heavily on foreign suppliers for its military needs. While there are a few long-standing defense companies like Denel in South Africa, founded in 1922, and Dicon in Nigeria, established in 1964, the reality is that these companies focus mostly on small arms and light weapons, with very limited capacity for large-scale manufacturing of modern defense equipment. Why? Because for decades, African governments have underinvested in this critical sector. Even more troubling is the bureaucratic maze that strangles growth. The African defense industry is caught in a web of outdated, inconsistent, and often contradictory laws and policies, making it nearly impossible to innovate or expand. As a result, the continent's defense manufacturers have struggled to meet global standards, both in terms of quality and performance. They lack the international competitiveness to supply their own armies, let alone export to others. The challenges run deep: a shortage of skilled engineers and trained personnel, a scarcity of modern technology and precision manufacturing tools, poor logistics and infrastructure, and perhaps most importantly, minimal investment in research and development, the backbone of any serious defense industry. But this is exactly why Mali is now stepping forward. During the country's 64th Armed Forces anniversary, Colonel Assimi Goïta made a powerful announcement. Mali will build its own defense industry. The plan isn't symbolic, it's strategic. It includes establishing factories to assemble military vehicles and weapons, as well as facilities for manufacturing ammunition and explosives. This is a massive shift. It signals that Mali, like its AES partners, is no longer content with buying weapons abroad while its own factories sit idle. Instead, it's investing in sovereignty, engineering it, building it, and putting it in the hands of its own soldiers. If successful, Mali's move could become a model for other African nations, a blueprint for how to break the cycle of dependency and build a continental defense industry rooted in African expertise, African resources, and African needs. In a powerful address to the nation, Colonel Assimi Goïta laid out Mali's bold plan for 2025, the establishment of a national defense industry that would finally give the country full control over its military capabilities. The process of equipping the armed and security forces will be improved in 2025, he declared, revealing that factories are actively being installed in Bamako, with specialized units for the assembly of both individual and collective tactical weapons, military vehicles, and the manufacture of ammunition and explosives, not just for military use, but civilian as well. This is more than just industrial development, it's a revolution in national strategy. Colonel Goïta made it clear, Mali is building the tools to defend itself, and in doing so, it is breaking once and for all from the old system of dependency. With unmistakable conviction, he stated that today's Mali is no longer the favorite terrain of nostalgics of a paternalistic past. A direct message, clearly aimed at France, the former colonial power expelled from Mali in 2022 after years of military presence and political interference. Goïta's speech was more than symbolic. It was a warning shot to Western governments that any attempt to manipulate or pressure Bamako would now fall on deaf ears. Mali, he said, is now a free and sovereign actor, one that chooses its path with full awareness and intent. He didn't shy away from the past either. He acknowledged that for too long, Mali's armed forces had been demoralized, humiliated, and weakened. But that era, he declared, is over. The army is being rebuilt, not just in size, but in spirit. Its organization has been overhauled, its infrastructure is being modernized, and its combat readiness is being sharpened to ensure maximum efficiency on the ground. Mali is no longer waiting for someone else to secure its future. It's engineering it, arming it, and preparing to defend it on its own terms. These drones are built to meet a diverse range of tactical and strategic needs. They are optimized for high-altitude operations, and critically, they come equipped with counter-drone systems, a key asset in modern warfare. The integration of artificial intelligence, AI, pushes their capabilities even further, enabling autonomous decision-making in surveillance, offensive, defensive, and intelligence missions. It's a cutting-edge leap that not only boosts operational efficiency, but signals Ethiopia's entry into the elite ranks of drone-producing nations. Yet Prime Minister Abiy was careful to underline the defensive nature of this initiative. "We are developing capabilities like these, not to fuel conflict, but to prevent it," he stated, framing the technology as a tool of deterrence and peacekeeping, not aggression. In a region plagued by instability, border tensions, and asymmetric threats, this approach speaks volumes. Ethiopia isn't just preparing to defend itself, it's building smart, forward-looking capabilities that aim to preserve peace through strength. The message is clear. Africa is no longer content being a consumer of foreign defense technology. From the drone factories of Ethiopia to the armored vehicle plants of Niger and Mali, the continent is beginning to write its own defense narrative, innovative, sovereign, and proudly African. The vision for Mali's military industry didn't begin overnight. It was first unveiled back in July 2024 by Malian Defense Minister Sadio Kamara, who announced the country's intention to start producing ammunition and begin the assembly of armored vehicles. The plan also includes the manufacture of civilian-grade explosives, pointing to a broader industrial ecosystem that goes beyond the battlefield. The long-term objective, he stressed, is simple but revolutionary: to make Mali militarily independent. And that goal is more than just patriotic, it's strategically smart. By building a domestic arms industry, Mali stands to gain far more than just enhanced defense capabilities. It's also laying the groundwork for economic transformation. The new facilities promise to create jobs, develop technical skills, attract investment, and stimulate industrial growth. For a country that has long been dependent on foreign arms and aid, this shift towards self-reliance marks a critical turning point, a reclaiming of both security and sovereignty. But Mali's ambitions don't stop at its own borders. As a key member of the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, Mali's military industry will undoubtedly benefit Burkina Faso and Niger as well. With close political and military ties and a shared commitment to independence from Western influence, these three nations are rapidly building a regional defense ecosystem. As Mali ramps up production, its neighbors will no longer have to look overseas to meet their defense needs. They'll be able to rely on each other. And this trend isn't limited to the Sahel. Elsewhere on the continent, Ethiopia has just made a bold entrance into the future of warfare and technology. In a landmark move, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed inaugurated Skywing Industry, a large-scale drone manufacturing facility that will produce unmanned aerial vehicles (UAVs) for both military and civilian use. Ethiopia's new drone industry positions it not only as a leader in African aerospace technology, but also as a rising player in the global drone market. It's a strategic play, balancing national security with international trade potential. From the Sahel to the Horn of Africa, a new wave of African defense innovation is rising. Countries are no longer waiting for foreign suppliers or permission to secure their territories. Instead, they are investing in homegrown capabilities, building sovereign industries, and carving out their place in the world, not as clients, but as competitors. What was once a continent of consumers is fast becoming a continent of creators. At the inauguration of Skywing Industry, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed proudly reflected on Ethiopia's remarkable leap into the future of defense technology. Today, as we inaugurate Skywing Industry, we recognize that the locally manufactured drones before us were unimaginable just a few years ago, he declared on X, formerly Twitter, capturing the significance of this moment not just for Ethiopia, but for Africa's place in global innovation. He credited this breakthrough to the brilliance and dedication of young Ethiopian engineers and technicians, whose work has placed the nation at the forefront of a new era in African aerospace. What sets this achievement apart is Ethiopia's strategic vision. The drones produced by Skywing Industry are not only tailored for national defense, they're also being positioned as export-ready technologies, capable of serving global markets. In doing so, Ethiopia is asserting its intent to move away from dependency on foreign defense suppliers while simultaneously building an economy anchored in high-tech innovation. Beyond its impact on national defense, Ethiopia's drone program is aiming much higher, toward the skies of international trade. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed made it clear that the goal isn't just to secure Ethiopia's borders, but to transform the country into a key player in the booming global drone market. With a growing demand for drones in sectors ranging from agriculture and infrastructure monitoring to disaster response and military operations, Ethiopia sees a rare opportunity to leverage its innovation for both economic gain and geopolitical influence. And this isn't just a dream. Ethiopia's entry into this market could allow it to build stronger trade ties across Africa and the Middle East, positioning itself as a regional leader in tech-based security solutions. As the global race for drone supremacy intensifies, Ethiopia could offer a cost-effective and locally tailored alternative, especially for nations that cannot afford the high-end systems produced by defense giants like China, Israel, or Turkey. But the road ahead won't be easy. The drone market is highly competitive, dominated by countries with decades of R&D, global networks, and cutting-edge manufacturing capacity. For Ethiopia to truly carve out its space, it will need to identify its strengths, whether that's affordability, regional adaptability, or the development of specialized drones for Africa-specific challenges like crop monitoring, anti-poaching efforts, or desert surveillance. Prime Minister Abiy's emphasis on continued research, innovation, and sensor technology development shows the government's commitment to taking these challenges seriously. This is not a symbolic project. It's a strategic move that fuses security, economics, and diplomacy into one forward-looking initiative, and the momentum isn't slowing down. Just a few days ago, Ethiopian authorities announced another major technological breakthrough, signaling that the Skywing drone launch was only the beginning. With each new achievement, Ethiopia is proving that it doesn't just want to participate in the 21st century defense economy, it wants to lead it on African terms. Now, if all African countries can follow in the footsteps of these countries, it's clear that in a few years' time, Africa will have a well-developed military industry and the era of depending on the West for defense needs will be over. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget to like this video, drop a comment, and subscribe to our channel.